I would say up until recently, a master of mine was fear. Fear. A lot of fear. Um, Here's something about my personal life. I recently, I would give the absolute world to go mop the top of fucking Foot Lockers in the mezzanine. Me again. I know you weren't expecting that. Yeah, it's about like 30 degrees out here, so I'm going to try to keep this part short. Um, I'm excited because as of today, fundamentally publishing now exists, which is cool. And it was somewhat difficult and confusing, and I genuinely am concerned that I messed it up. But hopefully not. Yeah, so that has been done. Yeah, not really much else beyond that, but fundamentally correct. Publishing now exists, and it is owned by none other than moi, Andrew Tyree, and we're going to see what we can do with that. I've already got quite a bit of ideas as to what I'm going to do with it, particularly regarding stories, to include not only myself in that bracket, but yeah, fundamentally correct. Publishing is now here, and it is here to stay. Yeah, that's about it. It's only like the midpoint of the week. So I will see all of you again on whatever day I decide to continue this. Goodbye. Hello, me. I'm just following up from the other day. So I just got done with my very first salsa slash bachata class, and it went actually pretty well. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep this as short as I can just because the sun is about to come out from right behind that building and it is going to ruin this incredible view behind me. I met the owner of the small business. She was extremely nice, extremely professional. It was just an all-around wonderful experience. I got to learn a couple of basic moves. I think one of them was called like kumbe or something, like with bachata. Yeah, that was about it for that. And as far as things go for the business side of things, that may or may not have went as well as I was hoping, but everything is fine now, and it was back then. That is the update. There will be more to come later this week. Well, thank you for that update, Andrew. So now it's back to me. It is currently 2:30, 2:38 in the morning, and it is January 20th. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Hopefully I did not just mess up that date. And it is about 24 degrees outside. And thankfully it's not too windy. I'm hoping that it's not going to disturb a lot of the audio. I have some exciting new audio to add to this video, which hopefully you like it. I don't know. I like it. I think that the person that made it did a wonderful job. But moving on to today's thing. So I promised you that there would be weekly updates and I would provide you general knowledge. For today's topic of discussion for general knowledge, let's talk about joy. I know that with the last video that I uploaded, it was kind of depressing, if I'm being honest. Despite my cheerful appearance and my cheerful gaze when I look at the camera. So let's talk about something fun, or at least joyous. This is joyous. That's why I'm standing here. Look at that, it's Christmas lights. Isn't that great? What are some other things that bring me joy? My dog, my parents, my friends, the most recent dance class that I went to. Reading, particularly philosophy, if it's fun. Well, I mean, philosophy is never fun. Philosophy is always boring as hell, regardless of how you spin it. But one philosopher in particular that I enjoyed was Epictetus, specifically the discourses of Epictetus. I almost want to think of him as the Rick Sanchez of the philosophical world. I couldn't decide whether he was Greek or Roman in that sentence, so I just decided to maneuver around that. One of the things that he talks about in his dialogue are the concept of masters. And Epictetus was a slave. He became a free man, and he was the educator of Marcus Aurelius. And he spoke about not only like himself having masters, like an actual person, but what masters are, like the concept of masters. And I'm not talking about mastery over something. I'm talking like there is something that holds itself over you. And I would say up until recently, a master of mine was fear. Fear. A lot of fear. Here's something about my personal life. I recently just finished my divorce. And I was terrified what the outcome of that was going to be. I thought my life was falling apart. But I just kept going through it all. And it was difficult. And now that I have summited this arduous task, I find joy. I find a lot of joy that I used to not have. And it's a wonderful feeling. To feel calm. That's another thing too that comes with joy. You feel this intense amount of joy, or like preceding it, you just feel this intense level of calm. And it's something that I've been able to experience for at least like 6 months. I know that going through a divorce is a relatively common experience, but that doesn't make it feel any less personal. As to why that happened, I'm not going to share that. But thinking about the good times that I did share with this person brings me joy. It used to not. Any single memory that I had with them felt tainted because I just felt so angry about the way things transpired, about the way things commenced. But thinking about the good memories now does bring me joy. And it was a difficult thing to come to. And so with the previous episode, where I was talking about how hopefully this year I can find some meaning in what it is that I experienced, there's a car coming through. That is so loud. But yeah, talking about how in the last episode, hopefully I find what the meaning of it all was supposed to be. It's only been a week, but I would say I've found at least 3% of it. I feel more driven to accomplish my goals than ever before, mainly because I felt like a prisoner in my own head throughout that entire experience. It was like feeling foreign in my own head, where I was put in this place of mind to where anything and everything that I did felt like something that I wouldn't do, or that the events leading up to it would never have been something that would have occurred in my life. And facing the absurdity of that, just, it made me angry. It made me so angry. And it's a feeling that I would never want to put on another person. It was one of the very first times in my life where the anger that I had was externalized. It wasn't just placed in myself. Because sometimes I'll have these feelings of being a failure, sometimes I'll have these extreme feelings of inadequacy. And it was one of the very first times in my life where that anger had just been externalized. And when I finally felt like I had reached at least some level of equalization of the score, I didn't want it. I didn't want it at all. And I felt horrible for being so angry. I felt absolutely horrible. And in that anger, it wasn't just applied to the person that I felt caused my suffering. It was to people around me. I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. I felt like everybody was out to get me or take something from me. And it was very isolating. It was extremely isolating. So if you find yourself in that same place, I can promise you it's going to pass. I didn't feel like it was going to pass. It sucked. But I can promise you it will. You gotta try to find at least somewhat of a silver lining in it all. What that silver lining is for me, I'll figure it out. I'm happier now, though. So there's my joy. What is another thing that brings me joy? Thinking about my time in the Army. When I first got out, and I like to think of it as like you're having almost like a fucking mind melt of your personality. Because for me, when I went to college, right after leaving the Army, I wasn't that much older physically than my peers, but I felt so much older mentally just from that entire experience. And granted, oh wow, it's snowing. That's something that brings me joy. You can't really see it, but it is snowing right now. Here, let me see if I can. Let's see if I can do this. Are you back to being level? Something like that. But yeah, my time in the Army, it brought me a lot of joy. Primarily through embracing the suck, as stupid as that shit sounds. And I just, the only thing that kept me going this last year was just knowing that at the end of it, It was gonna get better. And it did, because I embraced the suck. But more things about my time in the Army that brought me joy. And more things about the mind melt. So, when you get out, one of the first things that happens is your peers that are very near and dear to your heart, they begin to slowly move away from you, either due to PCSing, which is changing your duty station, or they themselves get out and decide to go back home, wherever that is, or some of them die. But you can't focus on the afterwards. You just have to focus on the good times. And for me, that was working in the EMT section with all of the other medics. I was working in the EMT section with all of the other medics. Every day, we would usually have some dumb bullshit task that on the surface was bullshit, but like there at least was some logistical point to it. It just felt really fucking annoying to do. And in doing those tasks and doing these things, you build this camaraderie, this bond with these people that it's irreplaceable. It's absolutely irreplaceable. And life moves on, you know, like it's not like I can expect to be in their life forever just as much as they can expect. So, funny story. Turns out when it is colder than hell outside, your phone dies a lot faster than you would expect. So, yeah, that's what happened. That's why the video suddenly got interrupted, and that's why I'm currently sitting in my car because I'm tired of freezing my ass off. I'm going to try to wrap this up, at least for now. I'll obviously talk more about some stuff, but yeah, the medics. I love them. I love them all. Except for one. One of them can go fuck themselves. But other than that guy, love them all. Love them all. Well, okay. One guy, and well, I don't know. I don't love her, but yeah, G just yeah, very difficult to deal with. My last like 6 months in the Army, and looking back on the good times with them, there are all of these experiences that I wouldn't trade for the world. And I just, to be able to go back for just one day and just be in that stupid shit, but with these people that I grew to love, I would give the world. I would give the absolute world to go mop the top of fucking Foot Lockers in the mezzanine. I would give anything to go back to a single day where we had to go and sort these heavy ass electric cables that weigh like 100 fucking pounds. Or to go out to the field and and take fucking showers where the water is so damn cold that it's freezing the fucking lines.
It was so damn bad that like you had the complete option. You had the complete option to shower, but it was so fucking cold that you didn't because it just sucked. And yeah, I would do anything to just go back to a single day with them. Something that brought me joy in the Army was leading. It was leading my soldiers. It was taking care of my soldiers. And I'm extremely grateful that my squad leader and my section leader gave me that opportunity. It brings me joy to have been surrounded by all of these different people from all of these different backgrounds, and it's not an exaggeration. You meet anybody and everybody while you were in the Army. In my unit alone, there were people from Ghana, there were people from Nigeria, there were people from Mexico, there were people from Vietnam, and just all of these people that I got to interact with and learn just something about them, about their culture. And like not even thinking about country wise, where it's just like the geographic United States, it is so diverse in itself. And like you understand that on paper, but then to experience that on a daily basis, it is incredible. I'm not saying that people didn't piss me off, but damn, it was a fucking cool experience. So yeah, that brings me joy. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. I didn't want to leave you hanging. And more importantly, I didn't want to forget where I was at with my train of thought to finish this up. And I also need to go through and record an actual intro. So I'm going to have to do this backwards. So thank you for joining me. I am Andrew Tyree. I have been your host. And good night, good luck to wherever you are and whatever time it is to you when you're watching this. So I guess it's not really good night, but see ya. Hello. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of this. If you're joining me again, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate it that you're coming back. Thank you so much. If you're new, please consider subscribing and leaving a like if you like the video. And another thing that I would really appreciate, just because I love the interaction, I love talking to people, is if you would leave a comment. And let's get on to the video.